We heard from Grant Shapps there saying that action was going to be taken after HMS Diamond had to fire a number of weapons to bring down those drones.
Yeah, we seem to have reached an inflection point, as they say these days, in what's happening in the Red Sea. And this is the Diamond, HMS Diamond, that was involved last night. It's a Type 45 destroyer, daring class. I always say it looks like a container ship because everything's enclosed, but there, this great tower is all the radars. And apart from the 4.5-inch naval gun on the front, it doesn't look much like a warship. But believe me, when it fires, it fires. Mm-hmm. And Ministry of Defence issued some photographs. This is one of them, of the bridge of HMS Diamond. That's a Sea Viper going off, literally, exploding out of the deck vertically before it goes off onto its target. Interestingly, they're in action, so they're all wearing their flash hoods, their flash suits. I mean, that goes back to the First World War. If you're in action, you don't know what's going to happen, what may land on the ship, everybody wears their flash suits. Right. And that's really even down in the control room, everybody.
And Michael, what kind of weapon are they using against these drones?
Sea Viper, which is pretty expensive, but they work, they hit whatever they're pointed at or whatever they're directed to, but they are expensive. They've also got a Scepter on board as well.
More expensive than the drones that are coming in, I presume.
Exactly. And you've got to work out, whether to bring them down with a Sea Viper or something else. Remember, American ships are involved here as well. At least 3 American Arleigh-Burke-class missile destroyers, which they would have done the bulk of the work, but the Diamond certainly did some of it. They could even use their naval gun to bring down drones. The little 4.5-inch naval gun can actually just fire at them, and they've got heavy machine guns. They can bring down drones as well. A Sea Viper is an expensive thing to use, but when they use it, it's important, and they obviously used one, at least one, maybe more than one last night. Yeah,
well, let's take a close look at the attacks then. Where are they happening, and what's the impact?
Yeah, this is what we're talking about. The Red Sea, the southern area of the Red Sea, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, right opposite Djibouti and this very sensitive part of the world. And this map traces the different sorts of incidents that have been. So the thing on the bottom, we won't go through them, obviously, but there are seizures, there are boardings, there is physical damage, there's suspicious approaches and sightings that are regarded as somehow suspicious. So there's a whole series of incidents up this southern part of the Red Sea. And the result of that, of course, is that there is a great deal of diminution of traffic. There's 90% of the traffic this time last year has disappeared. Only 10% is now going through. And the reason that this matters is because this is the route. If you're taking something, say, from Shanghai to Rotterdam, instead of going through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal and the Mediterranean, ships now have to reroute all the way around the Cape of Good Hope, and that's twice the distance. And the cost, I've been looking at some container costs, the cost of getting a container from Shanghai to Rotterdam was about $1,500. This week, it's over $3,500. Right. And in some cases, it's $4,000. So shipping costs have more than doubled in the last couple of months. And that's why it's doing so much damage. 10% of the world's oil goes through there. So the Red Sea, its route to the Suez Canal, is critical. And the Houthis, by, as it were, creating this bottleneck, are certainly affecting world trade.
Absolutely. It could have an impact on inflation, couldn't it? What are the politics behind this? Because the Houthis say they're doing this because of Israeli action in Gaza. Yeah. And didn't they say they were targeting Israeli flagships? That's just not true.
No, they say they're attacking ships that have got Israeli connections. They're not. They're taking pot shots at anything. And last night's attack, as we've reported all day, was 18 drones, 2 anti-ship missiles, 1 ballistic missile. They're, of course, directed, Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran. I mean, they're directed from Iran. But how much real control Iran has over them, we don't quite know. But the Americans are certainly making it clear to the Iranians, you've got to stop the Houthis doing this. And the Houthis may be doing it for all sorts of reasons of their own, because they're in some control in Yemen. They were going to go into a peace process, which is now off as far as Yemen goes. And it may be that they're trying to increase the price that somebody will have to pay for their support. But as Grant Shapps was saying just this afternoon, it looks as if there will be action against the Houthis. It looks as if last night's attack was probably beyond the pale, given that they've been warned by not just Britain and the United States, but a 10-nation coalition who are involved in this. But ultimately, if there is to be, in the next 24, 48 hours, if there's to be some sort of attack in Yemen, then President Biden, Prime Minister Sunak will be at the top of that decision-making tree.
And quick final thought then, what could that look like? Bombing Houthi targets?
It could be air attacks on Houthi sites where these things are being launched, and maybe where intelligence has told them some of these missiles and drones are being stored. That's what I would expect.